What horror movie type situation have you been in? I was with my girlfriend and another couple and we had decided we would spend our night hot tubbing. It's not very late, maybe around 9:15 p.m. and we're just sitting and talking with each other. Eventually we start to talk less and focus more on our SOS. We're all having a good time and paying absolutely no attention to our surroundings. After about 30 minutes, the other girl, not my girlfriend, looks up and says, "That's really creepy." We follow her stare and on the sidewalk, just outside the fence of the pool, there was a man. He was sitting on his bike wearing a grey hoodie with the hood up and a black backpack. He was just sitting there, looking down at something he was fiddling with in his hands. It was dark so I couldn't tell what it was, but we had no idea how long he had been there or what he was doing. We ignored him for a minute or so, but now he's staring at us. I can see his face because of the shadow from his hood, and he's starting to creep us all out. We slowly get out of the hot tub when he suddenly turns around and rides away really quickly on his bike. We were gathering our things off a table and getting ready to leave when he comes back. He rode his bike all the way around the block to get onto the other side of the hot tub without us noticing, but I did. I alerted the others and we really started to get scared. This man was watching us and trying to hide from our view. He had rode his bike down into a grassy field that wasn't lit by any street lights, so we couldn't see where he was, but we knew he was there. We grabbed all of our belongings and exited the gated hot tub and quickly got into our cars. As we began to drive away, our headlights shined into the field and we saw him hiding by a tree. He had gotten off his bike and was standing next to a tree. Our headlights hit him straight on and we could see him clearly. He was wearing a fucking mask staring straight at us. We got the hell out of there and never went back. To this day, we never knew how long he had been watching us or what he had in mind for us. Not freaky in a horror sense, but still freaky. When I was in high school, it was just my mom and I living in my house because my dad had recently moved away. We lived in a pretty nice neighborhood that constantly had a cop car patrolling the area at night. I guess I forgot to close the garage door. We didn't lock the door that leads into the house from the garage, and my mom woke up with a man walking into her bedroom. It was dark and she screamed, "Who are you?" And the man said he was an officer, and when she didn't believe him, he showed her the badge and claimed it was routine for police to search a house if the garage door was left open. I heard the noise and came downstairs yelling to my mom I was going to call the police. The officer told us he was sorry for scaring us, but once again, it was routine to check any house with the garage door left open and then left immediately. My mom called the police station the next day and asked if our house could be exempted from this protocol. They had no idea what she was talking about and said that they have never advised their officers to go into a house for that reason. They ended up figuring out which officer was on duty and fired him immediately. We still have no idea what he was planning on doing or what he could have done if we both hadn't have woken up. One of the many reasons I do not fully trust police officers. Freshman year of college, and I was really drunk at a party. This guy comes up to me and asks if I want to go to his apartment and meet his baby bunny. Drunk me loves baby bunnies, so I decided to go. It was like a 20 minutes walk through a really sketchy neighborhood over a dark, decrepit bridge. Sirens are blasting somewhere in the near distance. We make it to his old, shadowy building, walk down a long, narrow hall to his door, and turns out he has a baby bunny named Ed. We hang out, and I played with his literal bunny for like an hour before going back to my dorm. I'm not proud of this, and it really taught me a lesson in self-protection and safety. I'm incredibly lucky I wasn't raped and or murdered. Came home from football practice one afternoon to find front door slightly ajar, blood covering the kitchen counters, phone off the receiver, coded home phone. Imagine that. Bloody footprints leading to the garage and a black covered knife lying on the kitchen floor. Sister had been cutting sausage that wasn't full thawed and ended up severing an artery in her left hand thumb. Mom had came home and immediately rushed her to the hospital without time to clean up or make the house less murdery. This would fall under horror, I think. When I was 12 years old, my friend's sister took us to the beach. She was 19, so she didn't pay a lot of attention to us while we were out boogie boarding in the waves. We got tired and decided to start chatting like most 12-year-old girls do. We propped our arms up on the board, facing one another, with our feet dangling in the water, as we talked about boys and school and whatever else. An hour probably went by, and since we were facing one another, we hadn't realized that we had drifted pretty far out, and we couldn't see anybody actually in the water. Then we saw a woman jumping up and down on the shore, calling for us. At first we thought she was talking to someone else, and then we heard "shark." We quickly realized they were yelling at us and motioning for us to come back in because there was a shark close by. We freaked out and started swimming as fast as we could, but I had asthma and could feel my breathing starting to get more shallow. The waves were pulling me back and I couldn't move forward. I seriously thought any minute I would feel the sensation of teeth digging into my legs. A man got on his sailboat and made his way out to us. My friend got onto the boat first, and then I was second. As I tried to climb up, I slipped and fell back in, sending me into panic. They both grabbed me and pulled me onto the boat. We never saw the shark, but the man told us they'd seen the fin swimming right by us. I love the beach, but I no longer go into the ocean past my cows. Scariest ever. I was driving from Yuma, Arizona to Las Vegas after dropping a friend off. I didn't have GPS or a smartphone, and I accidentally turned out on the freeway that took me out to California. When I realized I was going the wrong way, I called my then boyfriend in a panic trying to figure out where I was. He got on Google Maps, found me and directed me into a small backroad freeway that would take me back to the main one that would take me back up to Nevada. Because I had been going the wrong way for a couple of hours and was in the middle of the desert, my gas was running incredibly low and I was terrified of running out. There were no cars on this road, no civilization anywhere, so my boyfriend found a little city that was like 30 miles away from me, and I headed there hoping to get gas. When I arrived, nighttime, completely dark in the desert, and no lights from the town I was supposed to be approaching. As I drove up, I started seeing buildings, old, abandoned buildings. The town was completely deserted. Windows were broken out, cars and furniture strewn everywhere, and then there was blood. Huge swaths of blood were streaked across the road, not just in one spot, but for a good quarter mile. There was blood everywhere on the road. I couldn't see any carcasses, nothing to tell what the blood had come from, but it was there, and it was glistening, and I swear I saw 2 or 3 figures moving between the buildings. So here I am, lost in the desert, almost out of gasoline, by myself in an abandoned town that has blood spewed all over the road. I've never been more scared or terrified in my entire life. I don't watch horror movies because I get scared really easy, and I find myself pretty much in one. I don't know how, but my gas lasted for another 40 minutes to get me to some Pershing gas station. I sat inside there for an hour just to calm down and be with real people. It was my senior year of high school. On a warm May evening, I was getting ready for bed when I heard yelling coming from outside. I ignored it until I finally crawled into bed. It wasn't long after I closed my eyes that I heard "I wanna f*** you" through my open bedroom window. I was confused, so I got up and looked out of my window. There was my neighbor, standing at the fence that divided our yards, looking up at my window. I was pretty freaked out, and I contemplated whether or not I should tell my parents. But it was dark, and I didn't know whether or not he was yelling at me or at someone else that I couldn't see. I didn't know him very well. We had never spoken before. I didn't think there was any real reason to make a fuss over it. The next morning I was home alone, getting ready for school. I see my neighbor putzing around in his yard, and we make awkward eye contact through my living room window. I didn't think anything of it. Close to 8:30 that morning, I hear my dog tied up in the back of the house barking, and it started to sound vicious. As I'm in the bathroom, I can hear the back door open. I casually thought it just Mom, but in the back of my mind, I had a strange feeling it was my neighbor. My gut feeling was right. To this day, I am so thankful that I had listened to that small voice in the back of my head. We met up in the kitchen. There he was, standing 5 or 6 feet from me, with an 8-inch kitchen knife in his hand. I'll never forget the look on his face. He looked afraid, almost as if he didn't want to go through with what he was going to do. At the same time, he had this crazy look of lust in his eyes. He said, "Don't move." The only thought going through my head was, if you want to leave, run. Now, you know when you have those nightmares where someone is chasing after you, but your body just feels really heavy? That's how my body felt at exactly that moment. I wanted to faint, and I'm so glad that I didn't. As I ran out of the house, I remember screaming, "No, no, no!" I fell down the front stairs leading up to our porch, got up, and I must have knocked on 2 or 3 different houses before someone finally answered their door. My dad's entire police force showed up. The guy ended up going back to his house. I guess he was an unsuccessful recovering alcoholic and had drank 2 liters of vodka the night before. He admitted to the police that he had been watching me through my bedroom window for months. When the police searched his home, they found photos of me that he had taken that explained in explicit detail what he wanted to do to me. Thanks a lot for watching, and don't forget to watch other videos.